Hello, hello. Welcome to Human Design Coffee Talk. And today we have a special guest, Jenn, the Joyful Projector. She's going to come on and we're going to talk about like transitional times and specifically Saturn Return. So we'll wait till she hops on. I just jumbled my words. I bit my tongue nearly in half earlier. So if I have a lisp or anything, that's why. Hello, hello. All right, there she is. And then Teresa will be joining us. So we'll wait till everybody gets on. Hello.
Hi.
Teresa's going to be hopping on too. So
Okay, cool.
we'll wait. And let's see.
How are you?
I'm great. Good. Really good. Today, feeling good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's Andy doing?
He's doing better. Every day there's little improvements, so that's good. Hello, hello. Teresa. There you go. Yeah, right before this I was eating and I totally ate something because my mind was like, eat it. And I bit my tongue in half.
Oh no.
Like,
gosh, I hate that feeling.
Not just a little tongue bite. It was like
a chomp.
Yeah, I chomped it. I chomped it. Hello, everybody joining us. As you're hopping on, feel free to drop your type, profile, and authority. We'd love to know who's hopping on with us today.
Oh, yes. Hi, Teresa.
Hi!
I'm so excited for
Fun.
this.
The gang is back together.
Yeah.
It was so amazing actually getting to meet you guys in Santa Fe. I was like, it felt like every time I meet someone from this community, which so far has just been mostly the conference, it's just like long lost friends. Like we've known each other the whole time.
Yes.
Yes.
Fractal.
It feels so good. It feels so nice. And the recognition that you guys were able to give me during that time, felt so special. I'm going to treasure you guys forever.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody hopping on. 1-3 Pure Generator. We have another generator with Sacral Authority. Saturn Return began in February of this year. Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, awesome. Hello, hello. So one thing about Saturn Return that kind of, like when I started to get into human design, and so I'm a sixth line, and I was like, you hear a lot about it in sixth line. Everybody has a Saturn Return, you know?
Yeah.
But I think the most, that I heard about it until I got into school and into more, study was all just like sixth line. Oh, it's this big transitional time. But I think that there needs to be more conversation around everybody having a Saturn return. Same thing with like Chiron return, Uranus opposition, those transitional periods that we can really look at our chart.
So important for us.
Yeah. So I would
it's the most drastic maybe with the sixth line, which is why we notice it the most and have actual changes of phases. But absolutely, everyone has that period. The point of experiencing a Saturn return, Uranus return, and Chiron return, or Uranus opposition, is so that we have that 20 years of waking up to our true selves, so that when we emerge from our Chiron, we are able to live completely embodied as the being we were meant to be. And there's a lot of theories that when you don't achieve that potential, that's where a lot of illnesses, sickness, early sudden death, we don't know, he was so healthy, that kind of thing can occur because they've been going against their own energy for so long that it gives out. So we have these phases and these moments of reflection so that we can say, hey, this hasn't been working out. What is this tension? What is this resistance? What's going on? And have an opportunity to transition and to move to something else. And when we don't take that opportunity, we suffer for it. And I love doing the life cycle readings because they really are preventative medicine. This is the energy you're going to be running into in this decade, in this year, in this time point. Look at it, pay attention to it. Otherwise, you're expending energy that you need to conserve depending on your type. Use it correctly. Otherwise, this is where sickness comes from. And then we get into PHS, which I combine in my readings as well. So that 20 years is so important and holds all of our developmental potential if we haven't reached it or come close to it by the time we're about 29, 30. And some people have. Some people, it's smooth sailing through their Saturn return and there's not a lot that they have to correct. They're pretty attuned to their true self. So I love when I get readings like that. It's easy.
Yeah.
How is the Saturn return reading different from like a foundational reading? So obviously I know that the foundational reading is all about what you carry with you for your entire life, but I'm curious because I've never had a life cycle reading. How do you approach teaching people about these energies from the educational standpoint, and how does it show up for people in their lives? If it's not in your definition, what's the relationship to it?
So with the foundational reading, there's a lot more details. There's a lot more information that we're doing. There's a lot more nuance and a lot more to look at. For Saturn, we're really just looking at the nodes, looking at the incarnation cross and what incarnation cross we are born in, and what incarnation cross our Saturn or whatever that life cycle is in. And then that becomes a dominant theme. And then the rest of the chart is kind of just characteristics, and it's not really that important because you can pay attention to the transits, but it's not really integral to the essential part of the Saturn return or the life cycle reading. So it focuses more on the direction and the deeper storyline, and then gets a little bit into color resonance and just seeing how the mechanics are working continuously through that time period, and if there's anything to adjust and to have the awareness of what you're moving into. So it's a little bit easier to do as a reading, a life cycle analysis, because there's less information. But you're focusing more on that incarnation cross, a profile change if there is one. Like my Saturn return felt like a cosmic comedy. Usually there's some like, you can have some resonance.
I'll be right back, guys. I'll be right back. Continue. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Usually you can have some resonance in the profile, and like say you're a 1-4 and then in your Saturn return you're a 2-5. That's not going to be that difficult of a transition to kind of move up, and there's balance there. There's a harmony there. I went from a 4-6 to a 6-2. So I went from right angle to left angle, which is pretty drastic.
Yeah.
And in preparation for this reading, I was like scrolling through my Instagram during the year of my Saturn return, and you can like see my mental switch to like kind of just like showing in Innocence, Transference, playful things, and just kind of like, hey, here's the book I'm reading. Hey, here's my cat. Here's my tea. That kind of stuff. To all of a sudden, I'm posting my yoga poses. I'm posting how I'm making my skincare. I'm posting like all of that. So I'm feeling the need to role model something and kind of like become a leader. But then also that second line body is like, we don't want to be seen. Like, we're hermiting, leave us alone. So that kind of transition can be like, as they say, jagged, like have jagged edges versus like a smoother transition.
Oh my gosh.
So really that's a really interesting, my Saturn return.
That's so fascinating. Yeah, that's so fascinating because mine is a 6-2 as well. And I'm like, really? And I remember in my 20s, I was just like, party, like whatever, just doing my own thing. And I did not give a shit about other people and like helping people, I was so just in my own bubble. And then, yeah, it was like all of a sudden, it had to have been around that time. I was like, I need help.
Yeah. Yeah, it was that transpersonal all of a sudden like focus on the other, and I had the desire motivation, so I'm kind of like, am I supposed to be helping people, but I'm supposed to be doing this, like enjoying innocence motivation, just playing around, fucking around.
Yep. Oh my gosh. What does innocence transference feel like to you?
Oh my god, it feels cozy. I'm not gonna lie. It feels very playful, very light. I know Innocence Transference very well because I spent a lot of time there. And I was in Innocence Transference the whole time I was in Paris. And even though I was so happy to like live out my lifelong dream of living in a different country and speaking the language, and what's required for citizenship is meaningful integration of the language. So I was so happy to do that, but I was like, why am I so depressed here? Why am I, this is my dream, what am I doing? And then I'm basically wanting to be a translator of surrealist, obscure French literature with a pen name. Like, I can't get any more hidden away, any more innocent than that. I'm just like, don't look at me, don't see me. You know, I want to translate for other people. I want to have obscure writing, and I just didn't want to be seen. I was very cozy in my little Parisian apartment, just like, I'm happy here, telling myself that I was happy there, but I wasn't, because I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing, which was helping people live their lives in a more correct way, correcting people, honest to God.
So I know I've been kind of in and out. My family is demanding my attention. What got you sparked on doing life cycle readings? Like what, you know, like what?
Because my Saturn return was so traumatizing.
Okay.
I was like, people need to know about this. Mm-hmm. I was a huge astrology person for years and years and years, and I didn't even know what a Saturn return was in astrology. And it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it was just this traumatizing shift that I was not prepared for.
Yeah.
And looking at like the notes I have on my Saturn return reading chart, it was a clusterfuck. And it was just like, it was, be involved with this, don't come to this, work with this, this is for your spirit. I had the 59-6 activated.
Oh yeah.
So, and I just like, I made all these crazy decisions and just like was so not self. You guys might know I was pretending I was a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
I was like, I can do everything.
Yeah.
I can do all the things because I have to do all the things. And I have actually a line in my profile, in my incarnation cross, the 18-4, which is the incompetent, which is survival through suffering. I was like, I'm just going to suffer. I just accepted suffering. And so once I got online and started talking about it and started offering Saturn return readings, and people were like, oh my gosh. When I told them about mine, I was like, maybe this was really bad. Because I was in transference. I was not living my determination at all. I was like eating on the run. I'm calm digestion. I was like eating while I'm walking somewhere, which I loved doing. So I wasn't nourishing myself in any sense of the word. So that was really what set it off, where I was like, if people are going to have the Uranus opposition, a midlife crisis, let's help people know about that. Let's help people understand. And then kind of coming off the roof at 50 and having a totally different perspective, let's let them know so they can take advantage of that, because there's so much capacity to live as our true selves when we can like hit these checkpoints correctly, or at least take them in stride and fix what we need to fix so we can be in alignment to live the full potential. Because honestly, people hating their lives after 50 and dreading, what comes next, you're not living correctly, because people that I talk to post Chiron are like, this is a new planet.
Yeah.
It's a new world.
Yeah.
The perspective is so incredible. So I thought, we got to get this out here. I got to do this reading. And that was also the reading that I just started booking the most, more than foundational readings, more than I put it up as an offering equal to the rest of my offerings, given the same amount of copy on it. And that was the one that just got the most bookings. That was what the nodes brought to me. So I'm like, okay, there's something here. And when I really started to look at my Saturn return and break it down with all the jokes, all the jokes that they've got there for me, it was
That's
like,
awesome.
I can really guide from a interesting perspective here, because it doesn't have to be this bad. It doesn't have to be so bumpy and traumatizing, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like I'm really feeling into how valuable that is, because I get a lot of clients that are, you know, in the 28 to 32 age range. And so they're either in the thick of the Saturn return or they're just coming out of it. And it almost feels like you just are like in this tornado and then all of a sudden you come out of it. And to have like some projector guidance through that would just be so valuable.
Yeah, I've had a couple clients in the middle of the storm, and we've been able to kind of correct course and things kind of settle down. And the whole year of my Saturn return, nothing was calm, nothing was settled. It was just continuously not self, wrong decision, initiate, invite, constantly. So I even had someone who was like 21 who got a Saturn return reading from me, and I'm like, you're well prepared.
Yeah.
She already seems like pretty correct because she's studying human design at 21. I'm like, you know how lucky you are? Oh my gosh. So I'm like, honestly, I wouldn't even worry about it, because you have the full 7 years before you can even get to your Saturn return. So who knows what yours might hold. Check in with me then.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about it and bring it up, especially like for sixth lines, because I remember when I first heard about it, it was like I almost had fear instilled in me, like, oh, Chiron return, like something bad's going to happen to you physically. That's not correct for everybody if they're in alignment, if they're living their design. And so it's just like, yeah, just spreading awareness about the importance of following strategy and authority, no matter where you are on your journey of human design. If you're just starting or whatever, these life cycle readings are helpful, but essentially living in your design is just going to lead you to that smoother way to enjoy the ride. And talking about these things
and being healthy
removes that fear. And like, yeah, I know lots of sixth lines. I know Teresa knows lots of sixth lines who have hit that Chiron return point, and there's documented things that go on in your body. Same thing with Saturn returns, with a lot of sixth lines, a lot of thyroid issues, a lot of, there's a lot of stuff. So just having the awareness, and removing that fear around these transitional periods in our lives, that it doesn't mean that shit's going to hit the fan. It just having the awareness.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, because mine got worse after my Saturn return because I was not paying attention. And
same.
Yeah, it was like, no, I said you're going to do this. And instead, right at the end of my Saturn return, I started dating someone who was absolutely terrible for me. And I found human design right in the middle of my Saturn return when I was still in Paris. And that was also the year that so-and-so, who shall not be named, got nominated or elected. So I was very depressed about that. I have a lot of things about human rights, social justice, and the value of human life in my chart. So going through that was extremely depressing. Then I dated someone who was like, astrology isn't real. Human design isn't real. Don't waste your time with this. And so I continued for a good year and a half post Saturn return while still knowing about human design, but not knowing how to fix it.
Right.
Stayed in my not self because I was just like, my boyfriend says to ignore it. Okay, I'm going to ignore it. My parents say to get a real job. Okay, I'm going to get a real job. And everything with that was going against my true self. And yeah, it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be bad. Ra actually recommends doing a rave return reading every year about 1 to 2 months before your birthday. And that way you kind of have the forecast for what's going to go through the year and kind of what you're going to be exposed to. And then also having those less infrequent ones, Saturn, Uranus, and Chiron readings, so that you have the awareness, and we can avoid so much pain, suffering, physical issues, possibly death, if we just pay attention to what the body needs. And it's all in the charts. It's all there. It's pretty amazing.
Wow.
So it's really easy to undervalue that, but once you know what you're really dealing with, it's something that I'm going to invest in every year and find someone to do a chart reading for myself for my return, just because it's hard for me to see my own chart. It's hard for projectors to see themselves, so I'm not going to try and do that for myself, but having someone do that life cycle analysis for me so I can really understand what's coming up next. There's huge value in that. Absolutely. There's huge value in the whole system, honestly.
Now, what do you say to people who come to you who've never had a foundational reading and try to book a Saturn return? Do you have a prerequisite that they have to do foundation?
So a lot of them have had readings before, and a lot have had bad readings, unfortunately, from other people. And they're coming to me with some experience. So that is one of the questions I say is, have you had a foundational reading? And I've only had one that hadn't had a foundational reading, and she bought a foundational reading before. And then we did the Saturn return a couple weeks later. So I definitely recommend having a grasp with this. This should not be like a first reading. Definitely get your birth chart read first, invest in that first. And then if you have one of those checkpoints, universal checkpoints coming up, it's definitely something to look into, having a professional reading done, just so you have the understanding of what's coming and the awareness to live a more embodied way to make the decisions that you're going to be faced with that year.
What is your number one piece of guidance for people if they're thinking about getting a life cycle reading, to get the reading but stay out of their mind when they move forward through that life cycle? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sometimes, I mean, I feel like it's the same thing when we get like tarot reading, and then we're kind of like looking for it to happen or kind of anticipating it. And it's part of the deconditioning process, and it's part of understanding and recognizing of why it's an experiment of just, okay, yes, was that my mind? And obviously I give you guys the tools to kind of understand, is this coming from my authority or is this coming from my mind? And ways to kind of understand that. Of course, I can't be with them step by step, but that's the experiment. So I kind of let them go off, but I really have a lot of trust in my clients, and they're very intelligent, and I'm very proud to say they know their shit. And they come to me for guidance, and when they pay for it, they know what they're getting, so they use it. So it's really wonderful to see that I don't have to have that much extra information of be careful about this, be careful, kind of thing. But to really experiment with it and just watch for it and notice it when it's there and reflect on it when it's not, and then move forward with flow, move forward with ease with your authority. If you follow your strategy and authority, it's going to come up. It's going to come up correctly, and you'll be like, oh, this is it. I think this is it, But when you try and force something like that, or when you try and make it happen or try and see it, you're not going to see it. It's not going to happen. So that's what I say is no force, let it flow. Just let the body do its thing.
Awesome. Anything that you have, any questions you have, Teresa? Go ahead.
Those are great questions. Thank you,
I was just going to say, Hamali's asking, what are the age points? If you want to just go over the age points of all the readings that you do, the life cycles.
Yeah. The age points can vary. Usually Saturn is 28 to 30. Mine was extended till I was like 32. I've seen one start as early as 27, but that's just like the placements. Uranus is can be 39, 40, all the way to 42. And then Chiron is about 49 to 52.
I did see one person's chart that's on my computer. Her Uranus opposition is at 44.
It happens.
Whoa.
I can never generalize completely, because The stars they have their own thing going on.
Well, yeah, I just thought that was weird. I'd never seen one that late, and I was like, wow. Oh.
Yep.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like you said something earlier that gave me something to respond to. And so none of us are fifth lines, right? But it's a little bit of, let's be a little heretic-y today.
I have 7 fifth lines.
We have some fifth lines, yeah.
We have fifth lines, yeah.
Heretic-y.
So heretic-y. Let's talk about Jenn as a projector. Do you want to talk about projectors, reading for projectors?
Oh my gosh. Projectors reading for projectors is really the way that it should be. I really don't advise my clients, and a lot of my clients who have had bad readings. I love my generators. I love my sacral beings so fucking much. But some of the bad readings that they've had have come from sacral beings who are not far enough into their experiment to really understand the nuance and complexity of a projector aura. And I experienced the same thing. One of my best friends, a couple of years ago, I was teaching her the system. And she's a emotional generator. And I was telling her about projectors, about my type and how to work with me, how to understand me. And I was like 3 years into studying at that point, and I was teaching her, so she was months in, and she just couldn't accept what I was telling her about how projectors should be the teachers. Projectors are really here to guide and be the overall guide, and everyone can teach, anyone can teach anything, but specifically with projector on projector readings in human design, it really should come from us. And she couldn't accept that, and we actually ended the friendship because I was like, okay, this is incorrect, this is not recognition, I can't continue this friendship with her not understanding my aura in that way and wanting to aggressively kind of go against it. So I think it's extremely important for projectors in order to understand themselves truly, to get a reading from someone who's been there. And even I would go so far as to say, learn from your type first. Get that first reading from your same type. If you're an emotional projector, you should only be getting your first reading from an emotional projector. You know, someone who has that lived experience. I'm a splenic projector. I get lots of splenic projectors who do their first readings with me. And it just gives so much, such a release, from someone who knows, from someone who's been there, rather than someone who's read it and thinks they know it and can't necessarily apply the knowledge necessary for projector empowerment, because it's a very delicate thing. It's a very hard thing. And living in a world that is mostly sacral and going pretty much your entire life for most of us without having that correct recognition of what we're here for, what we're good at, can cause a lot of trauma, can cause a lot of emotional pain and strife, and it did for me. And having someone that kind of just breezes past it and is like, you're a lighthouse, you know, shine bright, you're fine. It's kind of like,
yeah,
that doesn't feel like you summed it up. So absolutely, projectors, please get readings from other projectors who are of your type. That's the most important thing, honestly.
I definitely notice a difference when I'm doing a reading for sacral, specifically sacral authority MGs or generators versus any other authority or type. There's just that frequency, the energy, you know, of the sacral, and knowing that that's the authority. It's almost like when I'm in a reading with another sacral authority, it's just like we can just bump, you know, I don't know. It just has this energy, this speed, not speed, but it's like that sacral, you know, motor, something. And I find myself, if I get a request for a reading with an emotional, I will refer them to Teresa. If I get projectors, it's either you or Brayton, you know? So it's just like, because in that, I need to know what lights me up and how I feel different in each of the readings. Can I do a reading for any type? Yes. But what gives me life while I'm doing it as well, because that's going to be felt, you know?
Yes.
We can all keynote everything. You know, I can do a foundation reading even for reflectors, which I won't, but
Yeah.
I won't. They go over to Amanda. I just head on over to Amanda. But you know, it's just like it's we can do it, but just because we can, you know, what lights us up. I know Teresa does readings for any type as well, and she integrates different pieces like beyond just human design in her business, right? So she'll do like foundation readings, but then she has other offerings where any type can do that because she does parts work and, you know, all these other things that she does in with it. So it doesn't matter what type you are to do that type of stuff, but her having an understanding of the type, you know, and you can speak on that too, Teresa, if you want to.
Lately, I mean, my thing has really been, I will do a foundation reading for anybody, because I really do think I'm gifted at introducing people to the system. I'm a 2/4. I'm a missionary for human design. I get people pumped on the system, and then I'm like, cool, you're super jazzed and excited. I'm going to send you off to somebody that is really going to know how to coach you around your type. So usually, you know, anybody, what's that?
I feel that in your reels and your TikTok.
Like anybody can book a foundation reading with me, but if you are not a generator type, chances are I won't continue to work with you more and more after that. So that's just what's felt good for me, is like I can be such a good cheerleader at the beginning of it, because I know it can be a really difficult thing to step into, and some people just need that warmth that I think I can provide. But I think there's just so much value in going like attracts like, and going to your type. And I think as we approach 2027, that's going to be more of a thing. It's going to be people wanting to group in with sameness, you know? So I think we're starting to see that a lot already as it is.
And it's funny, what I just saw was like, Teresa, it's like how you're like, I'll work with them at the beginning. And what I saw is like a track, like you're on a track and someone is sitting down. You're like, okay, here's how you tie your shoes. Now they're going to teach you how to run. Obviously not run because you're not sacral, but
that's exactly it.
But it's like, here's how you tie your shoe. Okay. And then they're your coach for the rest of it.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe a more advanced or more technical. I love that. Yeah. It's not to say that generators can't teach. One of the generators that I have learned the most from in human design is Jonah, you know, and he's so deep in his design. For someone that deep in and taking it that seriously, we can learn from that. He can absolutely give a projector a foundational reading, you know. So there are sacral beings that will get to that point where they absolutely can be an expert in any kind of reading. But initially, for the first reading, it's just something, it's like coming home. And it feels like a much more correct initiation into the system of like, oh, I can see what I am. I can see what it's meant to feel like. And then you can kind of have a better taste versus the clients that I get that are like, oh, I don't know. I'm so afraid to spend the money. Last time it was so bad. And, you know, so I would definitely trust you guys. Absolutely. Because you embody the knowledge and you live it, and I respect you so much for that. But I also respect you for knowing when, hey, maybe this one isn't the right one, maybe not this one, refer out. I have so much respect for sacrals that can do that. So thank you guys.
It's hard to know what that projector experience is like, you know, and although we can talk about the knowledge and we can from an intellectual space transmit that information, there's going to be a different type of empathy that's there when you've actually lived out all of the challenges that can come with that. And I definitely experienced that with emotional beings, you know. It's emotional beings are like the passion that you have for projectors is the passion that I have for all emotional beings. Obviously emotional generators are their own alien because we're like, we have to operate quickly and slowly at the same time, you know. It's this really weird combo. But yeah, so and when people don't know the emotional experience, they don't know what it's like to actually live with that definition all the time. I get emotionals all the time that just feel really invalidated for their experiences. So I would imagine that you have like the same zest and passion for projectors in that way.
Absolutely. Of just like, I can't wait to tell them like all the magic that they hold.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, from someone who knows, from
Mm-hmm.
someone who's been there and can say like, this is your unique magic and this is what you can do with that. And this is how this is going to show up in your life. And this is how it was in my life. And it's just, I wish I craved that. I'm thinking back on it. I'm like, I wish I would have had that.
I know what I always say to projectors is you need somebody who is living this and doing it successfully, because it's almost like when it's coming from me, I'm like, yeah, wait for the invitation. And they're like, what? You know,
What?
it's like, you're telling me to wait? And I'm like, like, why don't you talk to somebody who has experience with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and part of one of the most like one of the things I love about human design the most is that how seen it makes you feel when somebody is looking at your chart and is reading it. And I cannot make a projector feel as seen as another projector reading for a projector.
Yeah. Seen literally being the key word, because not being recognized for so long hurts.
Yeah.
It's a physical pain.
Yeah.
That bitterness, when it builds up for that long, that specific kind, it is gnarly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So that
You have to
aspect
see to
of
believe.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I mean, you're a 4/6, Jen, and they need the role model. They need to see to believe that it's possible to live life as a projector, because I know Brayton talks about this all the time, but the chart is the potential. You're not a projector until you decide to be a projector, right? It's like you have the potential to be a projector. Otherwise, you are a super generator.
Yeah.
So you actually teach people how to be a projector.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly what it feels like, is like each of my clients are like baby projectors, and like teaching them how to take their first steps into the world correctly. And
Yeah.
it just feels so nice.
And what I notice too when I'm doing readings, and I don't know if you noticed this, Teresa, but when I'm doing a reading for a projector, it doesn't it feels so much different, because they're so focused in on what you're saying, and they're like,
make people nervous.
They do. They're just listening. And then, you know, when I'm reading for a generator type, they're like, you know, they're making noises. They're feeling that their aura. I can like feel it. And projectors, they're just, and so it almost makes me feel as an MG, like I have to like hold back my sacral excitement or something, because I'm like, I don't know if it's too intense and they're intense. So it's just this interesting dynamic. And I want, you know, anybody that I'm doing a reading for, I want to be 100% comfortable. I want them to be 100% comfortable. And then I noticed that my projectors, unless they have, like, I've read for a lot of like self-projected, or people that have a split where they think they're like self-projected, right? Mm-hmm. So they do want to talk a lot, but the ones that don't, I'm like, am I not giving you enough information? Like, I don't know. It's not the same. I don't know.
It's so funny, because when I'm in a reading with a projector, it's like I'm locked in, they're locked in, and it feels like I literally can't pull myself out. I can't pull myself away. And that's when like it takes over me, and I don't even remember what I'm saying. I don't remember what I'm talking about, because that focus is so locked in on them, and I can feel it when we're in it together, and it's wild. It's so amazing. And I can feel when they're not tuned in, when they're not completely there, or when they kind of lose that focus, or something gets shifted, and I can slowly bring them back in. And then it's a very specific vision of just like,
yeah. What do you notice, Teresa? Do you notice anything like that between the types when you're reading?
Yeah, absolutely. I notice, so I have an in-person practice as well. So I get quite a few clients in person here, which is always fun doing human design in person, because I can sit with a projector and actually we can feel aura mechanics, right? So if it's been cool, the last few projectors I've read for have been in person. And so I think there's a little bit of a difference when it comes to that. But yeah, I do notice like with generators, there's just this flow back and forth. It's like, time goes by really fast. We're just like,
Mhm.
it's just this energy that's this excitement. And with projectors, it is a much more, there's just a feeling. It almost feels a little slower, a little more like I'm kind of the star of the show and I'm the one moving the reading forward. Whereas generators, it's like we're responding to each other back and forth, back and forth. So it's almost like the spotlight's on me and I'm like, taking you on a journey, strap in. And then at the end of it, I'm like, did you get anything out of that? But it definitely depends on the projector. Because I've had self-projected projectors where we've gone like an hour over time just because they wanted to tell me their entire life story, and I'm like,
oh my god,
I will hear it. I will.
Time with self-project. I always. It's like not possible to not go over time with self-projector projector. It's impossible.
Yeah. I'm here for it though.
Everything that you just gave them, and it's like, okay, I gotta. I try and book my self-projected projectors at the end of my day because I can't help it. I always go over.
Yeah. When I get another MG, I always block out afterwards, like a whole nother hour. I did an MG reading a couple months ago for a friend of mine, and all of a sudden it was 3 hours later. And like my son was waiting for me. I was supposed to take him somewhere at like noon, and I started this reading at 10, and it was like all of a sudden 1 o'clock and he's knocking on my door. He's like, are we leaving? And I'm like, yeah, just give me a few minutes. And I look at the clock and I'm like, oh my God, it's 3 hours. What are we doing?
That is so
time
funny.
Stops.
I used to live with a manifesting generator, and when I was in Aura with him, it was literally the hardest thing to pull myself away, and I'm just like, I have to go to bed. I'm like, please release me.
I need to go rest.
Yeah, I have to rest. I can't do this.
I mean, props to you for being able to do that. Being able to pull yourself away. It was literally
so hard. It was over this summer. And I was just like, with all of my awareness, I'm like, please. And he was talk. He's got so many stories, and it's like 11:30, and all of a sudden, then again, it's like 12:30, and I'm like, I really need to go.
Yeah.
So it's strong. It's powerful aura.
Yeah. At night, like 11:30 at night.
Yes.
Oh, so like Teresa and I joke about being good little MGs and trying to go to bed before we get that second wind. Of like, and I'm alive again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I actually heard something. I don't know what I was listening to, what lecture. I always have a raw lecture in my ears, but he was talking about manifesting generators going to sleep, and he was like, you actually need to like work in bed, like, or on the couch or whatever, just lay down and keep working as you're laying down, and then
until your eyes like close.
And that's what happens to me. I'll just pass out like while I'm doing something. It's just like off. But yeah, that second wind is a bitch.
Manifesting generators, if they do that, that's correct. Like use up every last bit until you're like spent.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there's like a window of time, and if you don't like lay down, even if you're like still working or whatever, or reading something, there'll be just like, it's almost like it feels like an adrenaline rush or something. It's like I'm exhausted, and then all of a sudden, the other night my husband and I fell asleep on the couch, and we fell asleep watching something, and then he had put something else on, and I woke up, and Jen, we were talking about this earlier, but the documentaries, I'm obsessed with watching documentaries and guessing people's designs. And he had put on the Gwen Shamblin or whatever her name is documentary on, and I wake up to it and I'm like hooked in. It's just like second wind, 2 more hours later. I'm like Googling this chick's human design. And that's an MG second wind straight up. I got a nap in though.
I feel like projectors get like a faux second wind where we think like we're gonna have energy, and if that happens to me and I haven't rested, I'm delirious, and no one should take anything I say seriously because it's not fair. I'm not responsible for it at that point.
Yeah.
But so I feel like,
how did you feel in Santa Fe? So for those of you who don't know and you're just watching this and you didn't watch the other one, there was a human design conference in Santa Fe that we all attended. Jen was there.
Oh my gosh. I felt the happiest I think I've ever been in a long time. Aside from like childhood, being honored in that way of just like being so seen by so many people. And I stayed at Jonah's house. He let me stay in one of his rooms, very kind. And he's like, you can stay in the caviest room. So having someone recognize me that way and give me a room that felt the most cavey, I swear. You guys thought it was such a cool room. I just felt, and the walls, I've never been in walls that were that thick. The adobe walls are a good like 7 or 8 inches thick. So like you hit it and it's just like a flat wall. For me, for my cave's body, there was something that like really hit in my body when I felt that. I'm just like, oh, this is safety. This is the ultimate safety. So that was how like I felt the whole time. My environment was safety. I'm survival as well. So the fact that I felt like I can survive here no matter what, I just had such a great foundation. And then meeting everyone and being able, having that awareness and that communication of just like everyone meeting each other, looking at their profiles. And then we had little name tags and just like, oh my gosh, love this channel. Oh my gosh, wow, what an interesting circuit board. Oh wow, you have a lot of definition for a projector. And I'm just like, I've never been that seen. I've never felt so seen. And so I knew it was going to feel like that. I knew. I could just feel it was coming. And for it to exceed my expectations with like every single person I talked to, with this is my digestion, this is my environment. Somebody took me around the other side and was like showing me a different like actual cave on the property and was like, you can have your dinner here tonight. And I was like, I get to eat in an actual cave. Like I was off the charts and people were offering me things. Oh my gosh, you're a projector. How are you feeling in this environment? How are you feeling with all these auras? Do you need to rest? Do you want to go lie down? I would say I'm going to go rest. People are like, great, have a good nap. We'll see you later. No one guilted me into anything. No one guilted me into, oh, but come on, it's going to be so good. Or if I was going to say, I'm going to see this lecture and somebody else was going to another one, they didn't say, oh no, come to mine. They were just like, yep, listen to your body, listen to your authority. It was like, it was heaven. It was actual heaven. And getting to have that conversation, all of those conversations with that level of awareness. Like I studied philosophy for years. I studied psychology. I studied the mind. I studied like communication and understanding people. And I never felt like I could communicate with people in the way that I wanted to, in that really profound, deep way where as soon as you start talking 30 seconds in, you're talking about healing and your journey and everything like that. And that was just one after the other every day there. And I was never tired from it because it felt so good. And we're the aura eaters. I was eating peaceful manifestors, satisfied sacral beings, successful projectors. Like it was so good to be in everyone's aura because everyone was in alignment, living correctly. So no one made me feel, oh, yeah, I don't like that. You know, normally I get in someone's aura and if I start falling asleep or if I start feeling like a little uneasy or queasy or just like channel of judgments, like noticing something, you know, but that didn't happen at all. And I enjoyed my time with every single person. And there were no fights. For as much as there was going on there, there were no fights. There was no violence. There was no aggression. There was like communication through anything that arose. And it felt like a 9-centered community. It was absolutely incredible. And then Brandy, the moment that like we were eating out and we were all having dinner together, and this is the first time this has ever happened in my life for someone to recognize me like this. I gave everybody the disclaimer that, hey, I'm calm digestion. I'm not going to talk. I'm just going to kind of be right here doing my own thing. And other people came up and joined us and they didn't hear my disclaimer. And so I was kind of sitting there thinking like, oh, I feel bad, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to stay here. And Brandy so sweetly spoke up and said, just so you know, Jen is not ignoring you. She's calm digestion. she's just doing her thing. And they were like, great, cool. And then the conversation just got to flow. And I just sat there in that moment of just like, I want to cry. You can make projectors feel very, very seen, because that was probably the most, no one has ever done that for me. I've grown up with a family of like, why are you quiet? What's wrong? Anytime when I started taking my experiment seriously and I would eat calmly or eat by myself, oh no, you don't have to go. No, eat with us. And I would explain like, hey, no, I can't. This is just what I want to do. I'll be out after, or I'll hang with you later. Mm-hmm. But to honor me in that way and to just like hold that space and say that for me, so I didn't have to have that tension, because calm digestion is really all about the environment, the energy, the conditions that we're eating in. And I would have felt tension of like, oh, I need to acknowledge them. So you prevented that tension from even arising. So I got to have an even more calm meal. So again, thank you for that. That was so amazing. Like, obviously it really had an impact. It really had an effect on me. And I was just like, oh, people understand me here. I don't have to explain myself. You knew me and you were a friend, and I super appreciated that.
I think that's a testament to Brandy's channel of preservation. Just like she's the custodian of well-being for everybody, yeah. Like at all times. It's like, yeah. It's just such an automatic thing. She just can't not, which I would never want her to not, beautiful. As long as it feels good for her.
It was beautiful. I was so happy.
When we were at our Airbnb, I don't realize how that's just so natural for me to do these things. And with her and Brayton, I would just like do something like scoot something closer so Brayton could put his feet up. And then, or like, and then, or grab this and, oh, do you need, it's just all these things just come so naturally. And they would just be like, channel preservation, there it is.
I'm like, oh, I see why this is a dominance channel.
Right. Well, and then
oh my gosh,
I remember like when I don't understand why everybody doesn't think about those things, I'm like, oh, because not everybody has that energy,
When it's splenic, so it's like I understand why it works so quickly like that, because it's splenic. It's just it's like it's preventative. It's like, oh, I'm gonna move this so nobody trips on this, or it's just so fascinating to watch it happen.
Yeah. And I have
the little things that mean the most like that.
What was that, Jen?
I said it's the little things that mean the most like that.
Mm-hmm. Get yourself a channel of preservation.
You taking care of Andy, like I can only imagine like how much that channel has come in handy and how much it's like working overtime.
Well, and it gives me life. I have like this love-hate relationship with it, because I have so much energy for the things. I'm like, oh, this is why I love taking care of when Weston was a baby and like he needed me. I mean, like just I could just instantly like here, I love that. And then so when this happened with Andy, but then there's the other side of it where I'm like, wait a minute, he's not my child. But at the same time, like I find myself having more energy because he needs taken care of. So it's weird how it just kind of like pings,
Yeah.
And it like lights me up. I mean, I could do it all the time if it was the only thing that I did, if I didn't have any other responsibilities, shit, I could do it all day.
Wow.
It's right across from Channel of Mating, which Teresa has.
That's why we work well together. Bring both sides of the sacral.
Huge kink in my Saturn return.
Yeah. Well, we also complete 2644, which Jen has.
Oh yeah.
That's like the
2644
superpower channel.
But, yeah.
I love when I get that channel. Like, I'm alive.
I know.
It's powerful. It's amazing. I love that channel.
Yeah. When we're both like lit up, when Teresa and I are even just talking or in, connection with each other, and it's just like 2644, and then I'm sacral, so I'm like, yes, now this, and then I'm like, shit, she's emotional. Okay, I'll wait. Whatever, you let me know.
Ready when you are.
I just know I know what I am gonna do. If you want to do it, let me know when you're ready. If you want,
I love that.
write out the thing. But it's just like comes together. So to have that channel all the time, we only have like 4 more minutes before Instagram will kick us off. But do you want to talk about anything about that channel, Jenn?
Yeah, so with that channel, I feel like I can't get enough out in 1 hour in one reading. So I specifically have a program that I'm structuring around this channel to help people in basically 10 weeks. It's a 10-week program that is built around my transmitter channel. And I've seen what it can do in readings in one off. And I really want to give people the opportunity to be able to use my circuit board for an extended period of time in order to work out whatever needs to be worked out. Correct? I have the channel of correction. I have the channel of structuring, Freak Genius. I have the transmitter, and then I have the intuitive 1057. So I feel like they really work well together in terms of like helping people fix and desire motivation. So I just couldn't do enough in 1 hour. So utilizing these channels and giving people access and the ability to ask questions for 10 weeks, to have access to me for 10 weeks. I mean, I've built business plans in one session with my 2644, which is pretty insane. So over 10 weeks, imagine what I could do. And I've already got a client that I didn't even like announce it. And I had someone just like, hey, I need a program for this. And I was like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing.
Invitation.
That is there.
Correct invitation. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And it was
Let's talk about how that is the epitome of a projector. Right there.
Yes.
You're working on what you want to work on. You're mastering a system.
Before it was even ready for me to like announce and then someone
this is what I tell projector clients when they're like, how do I, and I'm like, just work on new things and just wait until somebody will invite you to it and you'll be like, here, it's already done.
I'm ready.
Here. Yeah, exactly. Like that, you just summed it up. Like that is so projector. I can't.
And that's what I want to teach people how to do, because it's so incredible that it'll take you by surprise, but it won't, because I was almost expecting that to happen. But the fact that it did, and now I have someone 4 weeks in and I'm so focused on her, I haven't even like announced it to the rest of Instagram. But that is correct projectoring. Do your own thing. I tell people to wait. They're like, how do I wait? Do what you love, and that will pull people in without you even having to do anything. Projectors don't spend any money on marketing. Don't spend a dime on Google ads or on anything like that. Just do what you love, work on your craft, work on your interest. It will come to you. It will come to you. That is the essential projector experience.
Yes, I love hearing that.
How this program is coming. So I'm like, okay, that's success. Let's go.
Yes, absolutely. And I love that you have this real life, lived, actual experience to share with other projectors. I mean, also you're 4/6, so it's, there's that. But I mean, it's just like, that's so fucking beautiful. Sorry, I'm just like, that's so amazing.
Just basking in the projector success.
Yes.
Yeah. I've had other things happen like that where I'm not really looking for it and it comes to me, but this is the biggest one because it was a high ticket client that was just like, how much? Yes. And I was like, awesome. There was no resistance. There was no questioning. It was perfectly correct. And I'm looking for 4 more clients to see who comes in, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks for giving me
I'm going to tag Jenn in this live, and if people want to get a hold of you, where do they go?
Go to Joyful Projector on Instagram, and I'm building a website. I'm having some trouble because I don't have gate 9. Having trouble with the details of the website, but thejoyfulprojector.com is coming.
And then so link in your bio.
Link in my bio is to my Calendly, to my schedule, and I have a couple readings available for regular readings or life cycle readings. And then if you're interested in the program, get in my DMs. I don't even have a button for that yet, but I'm assuming people are coming.
They will come.
Yeah.
Build it and they shall come.
Yeah. And
I built it. They will
I have
come.
gate 9.
I know you do.
I was gonna say.
I know
I've
you
sent
do.
and she's really good at copy too. So
Mm. My copy gets so long. I just go on and on and on and on and on because I don't know when enough is enough.
Well, yeah, so something that I've done before with another projector who may have just launched something is we back and forth receptivity minded things. So
Wow.
holla.
Okay. Holla.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us today, everybody who's on the live. Thank you, Jen,
Thank you.
for
Thank you. That was so
accepting
much
the
fun.
invitation and sharing your projector wisdom with us. I forgot at the beginning, we didn't even announce like your type profile, anything like that.
4-6.
I mean, your projector, obviously. 4-6 Splenic Projector.
Splenic Projector.
Perfect. She has channel, you have channel of judgment, and you went through some of your other
Channel of judgment, channel of structuring, the transmitter, and 1057.
Yeah. Awesome. All right, everybody.
Ladies.
Thank you so much, Jen. Everybody smile at the end so I can get.
Yes, let's get a picture.
So I can get.
that's such a good idea because I always struggle to find a screenshot where we're all cute. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be a must now.
Yeah. 2-second pause of your hands under your chin.
That'll be our signature move.
All right, everybody.
Go
Thanks for watching. See you later.
Bye. Thank you.